bring up your workstation to get DECwindows, this is the login screen that you'll see, and you simply just type in your password, username and password, and if you get them right, then it'll let you log in. And basically what I'm going to be showing you today is some of the out-of-the-box applications. I'm not going to be showing all of them to you, but some of them, and I also won't be showing all of the capabilities or features that they have. But you should get a good idea of some of the capabilities of some of these things. What's happening now is that I've logged into the VMS system, and DECwindows is starting up with the window manager and the session manager. And first thing that happens is you get this little icon box over here, which contains all the icons for all of the windows that you have up on your screen. And DECwindows has its own set of login.com files. It has a system-wide one and a local user login.com called DECW$login.com. And within this command file, you can put various commands to start up some applications when you log into DECwindows. And currently, I have mine set up so that 3 of the out-of-the-box applications are started up in my login.com. The DECwindows Mail, the DECwindows Notepad, which is kind of a scratch pad type thing, little small editor, the Bookreader, and the calendar. I guess that's 4. The session manager also goes out and will start up 2 terminal emulators for me, and it will also start up the view, the Vax User Executive, which I think Dave mentioned earlier, and I'll explain a little bit about that later on. Currently, I'm just going to get these applications out of the way for a second. This window up here is the session manager window, and this is kind of how you control your session through it. You'll notice that in almost all DECwindows windows will have this banner up the top here. Okay, this banner that is now highlighted here. And this has various functions on it. The one on the upper left here, in this little square up here, is the shrink to icon button. So you can put your cursor there and click on the button, and it will shrink it down to an icon in the icon box. And you can see that the icon changes from light to dark. And you can also click on this particular box to shrink it and expand it. The far right boxes over here, little squares, the one on the very far right is the resize box, and if you click on that and hold, you can pick up sides of the window and move it around so that it gets to be a different size. It resizes that window. And the one just to the left of the resize is simply a push behind button, and this one, if you click on that, it will push behind all of the windows and drop that window to the bottom of the stack. And just clicking anywhere on the window will bring it back to the top of the stack. Now, in DECwindows, to move a window, you simply put the cursor on the banner up the top here, click and hold, and then drag the window to wherever you would like to put it. So some very simple operations there, very useful. DECwindows makes extensive uses of pull-down menus, which are part of this menu bar here. So if you click and hold on these, you'll see that we run through a series of pull-down menus. One of the things that DECwindows has is that in most cases, somebody with a workstation, that'll be their workstation, and nobody else will really use it unless it's an emergency or something. So with DECwindows, you really don't have to log out when you go home at night. You can use the pause feature within the session manager to pause your workstation. And this puts up a window over everything that you're doing and locks your workstation. And when you come back in the morning, you just type in your VMS password, and you'll come back to where you left off the day before. Some of these other pull-down menus, the create, you can create another terminal emulator or a view window. The customize is where you can customize what happens when you log into DECwindows. A couple of things you can do here through the window menu, the customize window menu. You can do things like change the colors of things, like the screen foreground or the screen background, or window and some of the highlight stuff. And you can also change the background pattern in here. This is pretty simple. You just click on it and you get another window with these scale bars, with these scales, where you can just move these around to change the color to whatever you want. And when you hit OK here and then apply on this window, it will all change the colors. I'm not going to do it, but that's it. Another feature in this customize that is pretty important to people is the ability to specify the number of terminal windows that should be started up when you log in. You can do anything from 0 to 5. And you just use this little scale here to move it around and to set that up. You can also tell it whether you want to create a view window, a Vax User Executive or not, a VMS User Executive or not. You can have this particular window here start up in an icon state. And if you look in this window here, where it says you have 2 new mail messages, this is a message region. And you'll get notification of any new mail messages that you have or any OPCOM messages, system shutdown, things like that will happen in this window. And you can use this customize menu to change the size of it, number of columns, number of rows, and the number of screens that are saved so you can kind of look back at what's been happening. Oh yeah, help within DECwindows is most utilities and most Windows will have a help pull-down menu, which will go off to the help system, which is standardized throughout DECwindows, and comes here and you can do things like pick different topics by double-clicking on them, and you can go back to different topics and exit. This is eventually the help will be implemented in a hypertext fashion. Right now it's really not, but in the future it will be using the hyperinformation services and will be a hypertext-based application. DECwindows also has terminal emulators, which are VT300 series terminals, and they use just a regular terminal type thing. You can run your terminal-based applications with them. Again, it has all the standard operations in the banner, and it's got various pull-down menus to do some things. You can do some customize with the terminal emulator. Do things like change the number of rows and the number of columns for the default DEC term that you get up there. You can change it to a big font, which is a real big font. You can do things like have a vertical and horizontal scroll bars and lots of other options there. One of the other things that the terminal emulator and VMS talk to each other. So if you do no, that's not right. Got it backwards. If I use the resize button to resize this terminal window, this terminal emulator, the terminal emulator will tell VMS what it's done. And if you do a show term, you can see that the width of the window and the page size has been changed from the default of 80 and 24 to 83 and 36. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, one of the real nice features of DECwindows that I use all the time is a feature that's called cut or paste or copy and paste. And that is where you can select regions of text and using the mouse move them into another window. So I can click from here and do a drag and select a large chunk of text and move this into another window. Now I happen to use the Notepad a lot for scratch work. If I want to save something that's in another window to use later, I will select it and then paste it in here with the middle button and then just put this away and save it. And you can do things like there's what they call Accelerator Buttons, I guess that's what they call them, to speed up some operations. If I want to select one word, like total here, I'll just do a double click and that will select that word. And a triple click will select the whole line. And again, just a middle button pastes it to whatever window you want it to go into. And you can use the cut and paste between most windows. If it's a window where you can do some text work, then you should be able to cut and paste it. Like I could take it out of, I could take take a couple of words out of the Notepad and put it back into my terminal emulator. One of the things that they're doing with a lot of the documentation, particularly the DECwindows documentation, will be available online in a book reader, in a DECwindows book reader that you can read on the screen. This is a little different from the current one and the one that will be released. This is Field Test 2 of DECwindows, and base level 11 has a different, slightly different way of doing things. They have a concept called bookshelves, where you'll have a DECwindows bookshelf and a VMS bookshelf. And first of all, you pick the shelf that you want to use, and then the list of documents will come up on the screen for you. But to pick a particular document, you just move the mouse onto that area, and you get the rubber band box around it, and you click on that document, and the book reader will go out and open it up. And in this window over here, you will get the table of contents initially. And in this window over here, you get the first page of information. A lot of windows in a lot of applications will use scroll bars to navigate through long lists of information. And that's what this is, this gray area over here. This is a scroll bar. And there are many ways to traverse through this scroll bar. One, you can click on the arrows, and that will move you one line at a time. It will move you either one line down or one line up at a time. You can pick up the little scroll region here and actually drag that around, drag that up and down, and when you release, you will be in that wherever you were there. Or if you click above or below the little scroll thing here, it will move one page at a time. Now, Bookreader has a feature that a lot of things don't use currently, and that is that when you're in the scroll bar and you have the little scrolling region and are moving it around, you get a window in the middle there which tells you where you are in the document. So right now I'm around chapter 10, and if I let go there, chapter 10 will show up. And let's see. Once again, to get to a topic, you just click on that particular topic. One of the things that Bookreader has, which is very nice, is that it includes all the figures and all the pictures that are in the documentation. And those aren't all currently there right now, but they're working on it, and they will be. This one is right now. This is just a representation of the Notepad window, and it's just a part of the Bookreader format here. These buttons down here allow you to move through topics without using this window over here. So we can go to the next topic and just keep going to there, and we can also go back to previous topics. And occasionally you will see windows, you will see pages that have to use the scroll bar, and that they don't all fit onto one screen, and you just use the scroll bar the same way you do in any DECwindows application to traverse through the text. Close that up. Let's see. Oh yeah. One other feature that it has is index. And along with the table of contents, you can use the index to find things that you may want. And again, the scroll bar, you can do this, and it will bring up that page where that reference happens to be. And it happens, the reference for copying mail messages happens to be in the middle of a section, section 9.10. It happens to be right in the middle, and it brought you right up to there. So close, this is about it here. And if we click on library, we go back to the library. And these buttons down here can also be done through this pull-down menu up here. You'll notice they're shaded because when they're shaded like that, that means that they're inactive for various reasons. And in this case, you can't go to the table of contents if you haven't selected a book, and you can't go to the index if you haven't selected a book. You can't go back to the library if you don't have a book open. So, you know, they're shaded and you can't use those. Click back here. Okay. This is the Vax User Executive, which is kind of a first cut at doing some DCL things in DECwindows. As you can see here, these here are files in my top-level directory, in my systall login directory. And you see the directory spec is here. And I can do various operations on these files. I can select a file, and I can select multiple files if I want, and do various operations on all those files at one time. But right now, I'm just going to select this one file, and through this Files pull-down menu up here, I can do various things to that. I can do a compare, compile, if it's a program, copy it or delete it, edit, some prints, renames, whatever. Lots of different things that you can do here. Let's do a rename here. So you just bring it down and release on rename, and you get a work in progress box, which just tells you what's going on and what the status is. And then finally we get the rename box, and here's where I can type in what I want it to be called. And we'll just call it test.dat. And I can activate different options here, like I can request it to confirm the rename and a couple other things. When I'm satisfied with that, I just hit OK, and I get that work in progress box back, and eventually I will get a task output box, which shows me the output of what I did of that particular operation. And we'll dismiss that. These here are the subdirectories that I have, and in order to get into a subdirectory, I simply click on that particular subdirectory, and it will bring up all the files in there. And here I have a horizontal scroll bar to move between what files I have in this particular subdirectory. And this here, the dash within the two brackets, means to go back up to the top level. That's a VMS standard convention for that, although it's not a well-known feature. But if I go back, I could just click here. And using the text input piece here, I can change the directory entirely, the whole directory structure entirely, and move it onto the system disk. Syslin share is a part of the system disk, and I moved onto there, and that gives me the list of files here. And to get back to where I go, this Views menu does some operations for me. It will bring me back to the login directory, shows me some of the privileges for, and sets up some of the privileges for my process. I can show all the versions of files and show full files, which means it shows you like the size and the data created and modified and all that. I can show just the highest version, so I don't clutter it up with a lot of lower level things, or normal startup. But right now I just want to go back to the login directory, and that'll pop me right back there. Let's see, files. You can do various utilities, what they call them. Do things like create a directory. It'll bring up a window where you can create a directory in. You can do a DCL command, which gives you simply a window with a $sign, and you can type in any DCL command you want. And you can do a show time, which takes about 100 times more than if you did a show datetime in a terminal emulator, but that's okay. You can also start up different applications through here. I could have started the Bookreader or the calendar or mail through here, and you can get at the DDIF viewer and PostScript viewer and other utilities here. And you just, again, drag down and release, and it'll go off and start. This is going to start up the calculator for me. What this is doing now is it's gone out and started a sub-process that is running the calculator. So let me get this out of here. And it's a simple calculator. Oops. Uh-oh, view crashed. Got to understand, this is field test software, and things don't always go real well. Okay, let's move on. Well, that's coming back up. Let's see. Okay. This is DECwindows Mail. This is something that I use all the time, and I really like it. I think it's much better than a terminal. Oh, here we go. Okay, we'll do this real quick again. Let's get rid of Mail. Let's try one more time. This time I won't move any windows around. I'll just leave them there. Okay, so again, it's going out to start up a sub-process to run the calculator. And the calculator comes up, and it's very simple. You use the mouse to click on the various operations here. 9 times 9 equals 81, and it's got some memory where you can put that into memory, and it'll hold it there. So it's not too bad, and it's usually pretty accurate. And so that's about it for view. Anyway, to mail, this is what I use all the time. And I really like it. It's really helped me organize my mail messages, because I can look at all my folders at once. These are my folders in my mail drawer, and to, I don't want to work this. Okay, yeah. Each of these folders contain mail messages, and I can simply open a folder by double-clicking on that particular folder. And that will open that up for me and give me a list of all the mail messages that I have in there. And again, I can use the scroll bar to traverse through it. And this bottom arrow and the very top arrow, what they do is when you click on those, they bring you all the way down to the bottom of your folder or all the way up to the very top. So you don't really have to mess with this to move around. And it will also, now that is interesting. I've never saw that before. This little window up here is showing you where you basically are in your folders list, in your list of folders. Of course, it didn't work right. But anyway, that's interesting. And then just to close a folder, I can double click on it here. Let's bring it back up here. Now, I sent a couple mail messages to myself just before we started this. And you can see these buttons down here. Now, these five rather, are grayed out because they're inactive. You can't use them. You can't reply to a mail message if you're not reading a mail message, and same thing about print and forward and all that. So these three are active. Because I have new mail, I can do a read new mail, and I can do a deliver mail, and I can always do a create send. What deliver mail does, all deliver mail really does is open the new mail folder so that you can see what messages you have. And if I wanted to read one of these, there's a lot of ways I could do it. I can click on the read new mail, which will open a window and bring up my first mail message here. I can double click on the mail message, which will bring up a window with that mail message. Or I can use pop-up menus. I use pop-up menus a lot in mail. I find them very convenient. And the way those work is you use the second button and you click and hold, and you'll get a menu in the middle of your screen here. And this has various options that you can do to this mail message. I could delete this mail message without ever reading it. So if it was something that I didn't want to read, I could just delete it and say, oops. And of course, then I could do an undo move and delete, but anyway. And I could forward it and print it or get some more information about it or extract it to a file. But what I really want to do is I want to read it. And read in default and read in new. Read in default means it puts the mail message in the default read window. Read in new says that if I already have a message in the default window, make me a new window so I can look at two messages at once, or more than two at once. But what I really want to do is read in default. So what this will do is this will go out and create me another window with a mail message. If you see this watch here, that means that something's going on. That's like the working in EDT. That means just wait, things are going, and eventually we'll come back. So here's my window, and again, it's got the message, and it's got some information up here where I can use a scroll bar to kind of go through and see what information is there. It's got 163 records and some other stuff. And then the scroll bar here will bring me through this particular mail message. Now, I usually have a tall read window so that I can look at more of the message at once. I find that much more convenient than doing anything else. And this window, again, has a lot of the push buttons down the bottom to do various operations, forward, reply, things like that. I can go to the next mail message. I can click next, which will give me the second message in that list. Close just closes that window. And previous will bring me to the previous message, but it's grayed out because I don't have any previous messages. So what I want to do with this one, we'll just delete this one. So I deleted it, and it says this message has been deleted here. And if you look up here in the list of that folder, that message has been deleted. And if I click on next here, I will get the next message. Now, what I want to do with this message is I really want to move this message into my DECwindows folder. Now, there are multiple ways to do that. Again, I can click on Move here, which will bring me up a dialog box where I have to type in the name of the folder that I want it to go to. Well, I hate to type. I use cut and paste a lot and start cutting letters and stuff around so I don't have to type, but I hate to type. So what I do is I use a pop-up menu. If you put the arrow on one of the folders and click a pop-up menu, you'll get different options from if you put it on a mail message. and I can do it, open it, or what I really want to do is I want to move the message that I'm reading, move read message here. So I click that, that message has been moved. So now I'm done here. I close off this window and do a double click on New Mail to close that folder off. And then if I open up my DECwindows folder, I can take a look down the bottom, and that message is now down there. Okay. Let's see, get back up here. A couple of the things you can do is you can have multiple folders open at once. So I can be here, that's probably not a good one to open, and open my folder with Q information in it. This is pretty big. And traverse through down that, and as you can see, which I just clicked through, I have two windows open at once, two folders open at the same time. So I can do various things with that, and I do that a lot just to move messages around and to go through and delete them. To send a message, you just click on the Create Send box, and you'll get a mail create window, and it'll tell you who it's from, and you can put in a little message here for your personal name, and you can send it to whoever it is. I'll send one to the system account, and you can put in the subject, system not working, and then down here you put in your text of your subject, and you can of your message, and you can include different files using this pull-down menu to get a file selection box, and this will give me the list of files in my current directory. And so if I wanted to send, say, my decwlogin.com to the system manager, I would select that, type OK, and that would show up within my window with this nice little scroll bar. And then when I'm satisfied with that, just click on Send, and the message goes off to the system manager or to wherever I sent it. You can use different editors. There's a DECwindows Eve, which is a DECwindows version of Eve, which has pull-down menus and pop-up menus to do various operations, and scroll bars and things like that. And DECterm Eve, I believe, just brings up a terminal emulator running Eve. Usually what I do, and I think it's a little faster right now, is if I have a long mail message, I'll create it with the editor on a terminal emulator and then import it into VMS Mail here. So we want to quit. VMS Mail is nice. You can send DDIF files back and forth and read them and actually see the graphics and the text in a window on your workstation. That's pretty nice to be able to do that. Let's see. Mail has some customized features. You can set things up so that when you start up Mail, you get some various things. You can change your username, although I don't know if that works or whether it should work. Put in like your personal name, or you can have things forwarded somewhere else, or you can change the name of the folder where mail is delivered. You can change the style of the window here. I happen to like the outline instead of the pane, which is kind of a two-tiered one where the folders are on the top and the mail messages are on the bottom. So you can do some things there. I guess that's about it there. Another one that I use quite often, actually all the time, is DECwindows Calendar. I have completely stopped using paper calendars, and I now use the DECwindows Online Calendar strictly, just it. So if the biggest problem with that is that if my machine is down, I really don't know what to do, which in some cases is good, but in other cases it's not a bad excuse. So as you can see, this is what they call the day display, which I have come up first so that I can see what's happening today. And we have this DECwindows seminar, which we're here. Did it this morning, and then ate lunch at noontime. And if I wanted to go to another day, I could go to tomorrow by clicking on Next Day. And previous day will bring me back to the previous day of the one that I'm selected, not the current day. And I can go back and forth like that. Or I can pick a date in here somewhere, November 16th, and double-click, and I will get that one up. And that will come up on there. Oops. Didn't want to do that. That's okay. Let's go back to today. Now, to add an entry for this particular day, so all you have to do is you simply move the cursor into the time slot and click, and it will turn white. And you then hold and drag until you fill up the time slot for however long that particular meeting is. So we'll make a meeting from 3 to 4:30. And we'll put in, get ready to go home. And so you can type in text here, and it's just simple text, things like that. Now, if you want to add more information about this particular entry, if you double-click on the white space, you will get another box, another window, where you can add a lot more text. And see, it's got scroll bars here, and you can just add text for pretty much as long as you want. If you wanted to do that, it tells you about what time the meeting is from and to. And this area in here allows you to set up various alarms. And what this does is DECwindows Mail will yell at you for whatever time period you set up your alarms for. Right now, I have it so that it'll yell at me at entry time, at 3 o'clock, and also for 3 minutes before that. And I can set it up for, use this one here to set it up for anywhere from 1 minute to 60 minutes ahead of time. And this one over here to do hours. And so it's really nice in that if I have to go to Spitbrook, which is 45 minutes from Virginia Road, I'll set up a meeting and say, okay, yell at me about 48 to 53 minutes or whatever. It's real hard to get this exact here, but I don't care if it's 50 or 52 minutes ahead of time so that I know to leave. And I usually get in to work in the morning about 9:30, 9:45. My manager's pretty flexible about that. And but some people insist on scheduling meetings at ridiculous hours like 9 o'clock. So if I don't know about it the day before, when I go home, I usually miss the meeting. So I will have it yell at me 17 or 18 hours beforehand so that I know, oh yeah, I have to be in at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Another thing you can do is you can repeat entries. If I needed to, I could do this, get ready to go home. I could have that repeat daily. So every day at 3 o'clock it yells at me to get ready to go home. Do it weekly if I have a staff meeting every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Put that in weekly, and that's a weekly thing, and every fortnight and every 4 weeks. So repeating entries is very nice. So when I'm all set here, just click on OK, and it will enter the entry. And because I set it to yell at me for 3 minutes ahead of time, I get this alarm, and this is what the alarm looks like. It just gives me, tells me whatever I typed in for the meeting and times and things like that. And just to get rid of it, you just click on it and dismiss it. Can also do different views within Calendar. You can just view the month, which is just the particular month of October, and you can use the scroll bar to scroll through the different months. And as you can see, the scroll bar kind of loops around depending on the year, which is a pretty nice feature. You can view the year, which gives you 12 months. And again, you can use the scroll bar to bounce back and forth between different sections of years. One of the things you can do with this right pull-down menu is change the customization of the calendar for yourself. Some of the things you can change is you can say what the first day of the week is for you. Maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, who knows? It could be anything, I guess. If you notice here on the month display that Sunday and Monday here are the 30th and 31st of October are not filled in. Well, if you clicked on here, it would do that. It would fill those blank days in. You can tell it what the first display is. I want the day display because I want to see what I have to do today. You can tell it to start up as an icon. You can set the time slot size. I have it for 30 minutes. Some people like it for 5, some for 15. Just have AM and PM put after the time. You can set up your working hours, so I could set it up for just click here at 5-minute intervals and say 9:30 to 6:15 or 20 or whatever it is. And you can also specify what week of the year will be number 1. Okay, So you can do some fiscal calendar work here. And I think it, I'm not positive, but I think it understands about DEC's weird fiscal week policy. But I'm not really sure. And you can also tell it to include week numbers, which in the left column here of the months will give you what particular week it is. Cancel. When you finish customizing, when you first start using DECwindows and you customize the terminal emulator so that you like it, whatever way it is, what you do is you save those settings into a file called default.decterm. And when you, then whenever you start up a terminal emulator, it will read that and use those settings. So yeah, you can set it up for forever like that. And that's the same thing with like mail. Once you get it all set up and you save it in Calendar, you get up and save it. And so the next time you start it up, it knows about your settings and it uses those.
What I'm doing is I'm starting up EPICwriter, and if we have time, we'll go into EPICchart. I'm starting it up from a DECterm window, but it can be incorporated into your view session, and it would be a point-and-click matter at that point. While this is starting up, okay, I'll just hear it, okay? Let's put this in front. Okay, what we get is, I think you've seen this before in the previous demonstration, is that you get this file selection widget, as they call it. And what happens is that this file filter but it lists all of the files that end in DDIF, which is the Digital Document Interchange format. In this case here, there aren't any, because if there were, they would be listed in this box. And if there were, again, you just do a double click and it would bring up a document for you with that particular file in it. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to point to a different area here. Okay, hit the return button, which will be the filter, and something happens. Say, oh, I have a typo. It's hard to see the keyboard. Okay, it'll automatically resize the box based upon the new the new directory designation, and it'll list the files that are contained in that particular directory. Again, you have the scroll bar, etc. The one I'm going to be using to demonstrate is a file that comes with the EPICwriter product. They call it a demo, but I also use it as a tutorial for people that I'm trying to train or just to show the capability of the product. It comes with EPICwriter, and it's a demonstration file. If I do a double click on it, it'll put that file name down here in my selection box, and it'll bring up my EPICwriter session. Now this is going to take a while because this file is about 300 blocks. It contains miscellaneous graphics and scanned images, a whole bunch of text, and other things that we'll go through and show. Okay, while this is coming up. EPICwriter will, they are building converters for EPICwriter as well. Right now, the only thing you can include in an EPICwriter session is an Ascii file. Eventually, you'll be able to include WIPS Plus files, SGML files, interleaf, and a whole bunch of others that I really don't have a complete inventory of right now because it changes daily. Runoff files, for example. Okay, what had happened is I had ended this previous session without saving the results of my previous session. So what it did is EPICwriter creates a journal file for you, and it's saying, do you want me to try to recreate the document as it was before I ended it abruptly? And I'm going to say no because I want to start from scratch. So this means that EPICwriter is fully journaled and allow you to recover from most unhappy situations. Okay, what I'll start with is going through some of the menu options in EPICwriter. Okay, the file options, oh, excuse me. You can open new files. You can include, as I was saying before, Ascii files, WIPS files, retain all the characteristics of a WIPS file, bolding, rulers, things of this nature, and other named formats, such as the ones that I spoke about before. You can actually save files, do quick prints, print to a, this is a save and print. This will save a PostScript file, which is the output, by the way. It's a hard copy output. And it will also print to an LPS type device and exit and quit the window. Okay, let me just back up a little and talk about the window that does come up. It's an 8.5 by 11-inch page, and what they do is they recommend that you don't perform all your work on an edge-to-edge basis because it is a WYSIWYG product, and it will print right, exactly what you see. So this border right here is the physical edge of the piece of paper. So what they do is they recommend, in fact, when you bring up a new page, what it does is it draws a text block that I'll show you later that's well within the boundaries of the page to prevent overruns. Okay. Now, as part of the editing features, you have complete editing features, undo, redo, cut, clear, etc. You can delete forwards, a word, a line, a sentence, backwards, same. Selection actions I won't go into. Linguistic aids are really an important part of this product. And the reason why they're, again, grayed out is because this is a base level 3 product, which you can see up in the upper left-hand corner. And these aren't functional today, but it will have a spelling corrector, a thesaurus, and a usage alert, which is something that you can assign. You can assign words usage alert to a specific word, so it'll call attention to a specific word. So that's really, really handy. Full navigational capabilities, advanced to pages and lines and paragraphs and end of flows and et cetera, Actually more functionality here than I've attempted to use. By the way, I've used the product for probably 4 or 5 months, and out of the several hundred pieces, individual pieces of functionality, I probably used maybe a third of that. So it's a very rich product from the standpoint of being a real electronic publishing product. Okay, backing up, go to pages. I'm going to show you some of this. I just thought I'd take you to some of the important parts. Elements, these are all text-based elements. Paragraphs, titles, lists, footnotes, pages, frames, text blocks, table of contents, etc. Format, this is an important part or important piece of functionality for electronic publishing people, because what they can do is, in addition to the standard formats that are associated with, or styles that are associated with, again, paragraphs, titles, etc., you can modify a style just for a specific session, or actually create your own style. And when you're done creating your own style, you can call it Tom's style or whatever, and that style will automatically be added to a menu, which you can later invoke. So you can actually create your own specific style of publishing, if you will. Objects, it has a very rich set of object management that I'll show you, lines, rectangles, etc. Arrange pertains to the graphics. It allows you to round corners, point corners, align two objects. Distribute means change the number of sides of a square to a pentagon or something of that nature, etc. Scaling. You can't scale text today. It's a limitation, from what I understand, of DECwindows, not of the product, but you can scale objects. Okay, I must have released on an item that doesn't pertain to this session. Okay, links. You can edit live data. The only links that are working today are linking to an image and linking to all else, which really doesn't mean much because you can't really link to anything else today other than another DDIF file, which really doesn't make much sense. And then a really nice feature, I'm going to move this over a little bit because the pull right menu scrolls off the screen or goes off the screen, is you can tailor your keyboard, your editing keyboard, to be EPICwriter-like. I think somebody asked this earlier about mail. EDT-like, Emacs isn't functional today, Eve isn't functional today, or WIPS-like. So this is really good, the WIPS part of it, because you can import a DX file, again, retaining all the attributes and rules, etc. Change your editing keyboard to WIPS-like, and you could be in a WIPS environment, but have the added functionality of EPICwriter and the other EPIC products as well. I want to change it to EDT because I use EDT. Okay, I released it, automatically created it, made my keyboard an EDT keyboard, and just to prove it, what I'll do is I'll click on some text here, okay, and that's an insert point. It's this little pointed object here, and I'll do a delete word, which is a dash on the keyboard. So it deletes the word writer, automatically reflows the text, does proportional spacing, and if I hit undelete, PF1 dash, it'll undelete it. So that's just to prove that it is an EDT keyboard and not mirrors and smoke. Okay, I'll go back to this tutorial because it is kind of neat, because this part of it here is actually, obviously welcomes you to the session, but tells you a functionality that down here you can actually, go down and perform. In this particular case, all they're saying is that if you hold the Shift key, excuse me, let me back up again. In addition to having menus and pull-down menus, a menu bar and pull-down menus, you can have what they call, or they have what they call accelerator keys. And that's what this is showing you down here. By depressing Shift and next screen simultaneously, I'll go to the next screen. Or I could actually do it here under Navigate. And let's go to, okay, or is it Edit? This is a new version, so I'm a little out of sync on this one. Well, let's just do a Shift next screen rather than me trying to find it. And it takes me to page 2. I'll do it again. It'll take me to page 3. Okay, now what I'm going to show you here is, actually what this page is telling you is that it's trying to show you how to use the mouse. And what it's saying is that the mouse has 3 buttons on it, and they're used for different things based upon what's going on at the particular time. And in fact, it says try to move the mouse through the maze here to come down and get the piece of cheese. And in fact, this language down here actually directs you on how to do it. But I don't like to do that. I like to show some pretty funny, what I think, object management. And what I'm going to do is draw a box around this mouse. And I'm using a Shift mouse button 1 drag operation. And I'll release. Now what this mess is here now is really is what EPICwriter does with objects, is that it assigns what they call handles. And handles are used to do things with text, with objects, such as moving it, copying it, and resizing it. As you can see, this mouse is composed of a lot of different pieces. Somebody actually sat down and drew this mouse freehand. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use mouse button 2. Now, mouse button 2 is a pop-up menu, and it's context sensitive, meaning that if I've got objects selected, the pop-up menu will be tailored to objects. If I have text selected, mouse button 2 will bring up a menu that's oriented towards text, and so on. So in this particular case, mouse button 2 gives me these object-oriented options. So what I'm going to do is group this mouse into one particular object. And what that does is it leaves me with 8 handles, which is what you get when you select an object. Now what I can do with this object is I can use mouse button 1, grab any handle, and actually move the mouse to a different area. Okay, or I can use mouse button 2 to copy the mouse. We'll put him back where he was, or she, I can't tell. Okay, now mouse button 3 is a resizing operation. Now what I'll do is I think I'll end up with a fat mouse here, so I'm going to grab this one and make him tall and narrow. And I've got a fat mouse. I got a fat mouse with big ears, so he must have ate a different piece of cheese, or most of this cheese, I should say. Now, just to show you about the fact that these things, about the object management pieces, I'll click on a little piece of this pie. And actually, it's just the very bottom piece of this pie. So somebody actually drew this. Now, what I'm going to do is just move it. You can see I'm moving the bottom piece of that pie, I guess that's the crust, away from the piece of pie. So this is just a sample of what you can do with object management. Okay, now, another thing that you can do is you can cut the mouse. Not really cut the mouse, but you can put him in what they call the clipboard. Now they actually removed him or her. Now what I can do is use an accelerator key, which is insert here. Now it gives me this little moving box. Now it's actually the clipboard is working, and I can put this mouse anywhere I want by positioning it and just using mouse button 1. It'll put the mouse there. That's the facility called the clipboard, which I think. Okay. It's a little bit behind me there. Oh, that's help. I'll go back to help. I was going to describe the clipboard. I'm a little bit ahead of this tutorial. Okay, this particular page talks about the clipboard. Now, what I just did there is I selected an object, put it into the clipboard, and then pasted it back into the clipboard. In fact, the clipboard still contains the mouse. I just hit Insert here, and we've got the mouse on this particular page. I'll click on white space, and it'll remove the handles, so I have a mouse on this page. Now, in terms of doing text, what happens here is that I can select some text. You do that by clicking on the area that you want selected and dragging, a lot like what Tom showed in the other demonstration. Now, that is highlighted. So what I can do here is I can bring up a separate dialog box. And to do that, I'm oriented towards the accelerator keys, obviously, is I can bring up the text attributes dialog box. Now I'm going to move this over to the edge of the screen. And this box will allow me to customize text in many, many different ways, as you'll see in a second. Okay? For example, a font family. You have Courier, Helvetica, Lublin Graph, NC School Book, Souvenir, and Times. And I think that's going to grow when DECwindows ships. What I'll do is I'll change it to Helvetica. Now it's physically loading the font now, and as you see, changed it to Helvetica. Now what I'll do is I'll blow the point size up. Hopefully the document will remain intact to 18 points, and it did perform that operation. Now I'll bold it. Okay, now I was going to show you that mouse button 2 is context sensitive. What I have now is I have text that's highlighted. So this menu tailored itself to text options. So what I can do now is just release on italics, and it'll change that specific field to italics. So it's a very powerful text-based functionality. Okay, again with the clipboard, I'll just show you the text capability. Again, clicking and dragging, using mouse button 2 to just copy it into the clipboard rather than cutting it, okay? I'll put my insert point down here. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll say paste, and it'll put the word-specific operation right there. Okay, another concept that is important is that the option of, not the option, but the functionality of borders, or text blocks in this case. Now what I did is I say, just show me the borders. In this case here, I've got 2 different text blocks, and these are containers, if you will, that hold the text. And if they overflow a specific text block, the text will go into another text block that you may have connected to a different page or to the same page, or if you don't have a connection to another text block on another page, it'll create its own page and make the connection itself. So as you can see, if I keep hitting insert here, it's going to keep putting whatever's in the clipboard into that particular point of the document. Okay, I'll just go on. Oh, I wanted to go to help. So what I'm going to do, an option here, shift find, it says page number to go to. I'm going to say page number 5, I think is where help was. And I'm wrong. Okay, we'll go to next page, and this is where help was. Help is very important because in addition to the normal documentation you get with the product. By the way, let me just tell you where it is if you're interested. It's on Queen, Epic $, Okay, if you just do a directory, everything you want is there. The install kits, I believe there's either at least 2, maybe 3 manuals, a getting started manual, a reference manual, and I think maybe a user's guide. But in addition to the documentation, you have very rich help functionality, and you can get help in many different ways. You can get help by using the help option on the menu bar. Again, releasing on any of these will give me a more generalized help message. Or I can use help in relation to our context-sensitive help, meaning that if I do a function or ask for a function called include Ascii, which I'll release on here, I get a little prompt here that says name of Ascii file to include. Well, if I hit help here, I'll get a help message that pertains to that particular function. So it has context-sensitive help. As you can see here, it says enter the file spec of an Ascii file and press the return key, and on and on. So that's another way of getting help. An additional way of getting help is just to hit the help key, and you get another generalized version of help. By the way, this help option is an implementation of the hyperinformation process that's going on in Valbonne right now. And that'll get better as time goes on. Okay, here I'm at a prompt that says name of Ascii file to include. Well, I'm going to cancel that operation because I don't want to include it. And you just hit carriage return, and in fact, it canceled it. Okay, let me just keep perusing through the document here, and you can get an idea for the style of what you can do, or a taste for what you can do. Okay, this is artwork. In this particular case here, it says draw some things here. Let's draw some things here. We'll draw, oops. Okay, I'm going to draw a square. What you do is you just place this pointer, if you will, in the area where you want to draw a square and release. I get my handles that I can get rid of by clicking on white space. So now I have a square. Let me just show you another feature of the object management piece is that, like the text attributes piece, you have graphic attributes, and I'll bring that up. Now, it's a dialog box that allows you to do things like fills and changing the size of your pen. Well, let me put it over here so we can see it. Arrowheads allows you to connect objects, colors, and patterns. Okay, I'm going to draw 2 boxes here so I can show you some things. I'm going to use the mouse. What I did is I click on the object. I got my 8 handles. Now I'm going to do a copy operation. Release. Now I have 2 boxes, okay? I can fill these boxes as long as I have them highlighted or selected, and I'll do exactly that. I'll click over here. I'm going to fill it with this kind of a pattern, do some gray scaling, and as you see, it filled the box with that particular pattern, if you will. Okay, I can move this box anywhere I want by doing that. I can even say align these boxes. I can say treat these boxes as one particular object. Let me connect them with an arrowhead. The way you do that is you go into the arrowhead option. You can say single open, fill, double open, etc. Let's do a double open. Now what you do is you draw a line between the 2 boxes, which is line. Okay, you come down here and draw your line. Okay, you can slant the line as you can see. And when you release, hopefully you'll have arrowheads, and we do. It's double open. Let's say, well, that doesn't show up too good. Let's fill them. It filled them, as you see. So you have that functionality as well. That's why this tutorial really works out good. You can read it and actually interact with the product. When I go to the next screen, what I'm doing is I'm hunting for a screen that talks about imaging. This product allows you to scan in an image using the new Pixie scanner. Pixie scanner creates a DDIF format. Dave talked about that this morning. And you can physically include an image into your document. Not only pictures, but anything that's on a physical page, if you will. What I can do is select this image. I can actually copy it. Hopefully this will work well. I'll copy it into the buffer, the clipboard. Let me ask for an extra page of the document. I'll do a paste operation. Okay. And I selected the wrong thing. I selected the frame that the box goes, the image goes into. Okay. I think that's it. Let's try that again. Copy. Okay. Next page, and then I'll do a paste operation. And oh, I already got it. Okay. Now let me remove this particular object, get it out of the way. Select this. This is a scanned image, by the way. I'm going to move it up here. Now I'm going to actually resize this image. Hopefully. Wow, that jump. And this is a physical image. So you can incorporate this in proposals or whatever. Somebody say something? No? Okay. So this is the scanning capability of it. Eventually you'll be able to scan in OCR-based documents so that not only are the words appearing on the page, they actually make sense, and you can incorporate those words into a dictionary or into whatever you want, into a database product such as EPICinfo. Okay, that talks about EPICchart. What this particular function here is that it shows that you can actually flow text around objects. In this case here, they have the letter A. Now, if I delete the borders, which I will, you can actually see that these words have flowed around this particular object. And if I click here, I can add new words, and it's automatically reflowing the text around these particular objects. This is an object. These 2 A's are objects versus text. They're text objects in this particular case, which is, you can get these from here. Text line under the objects menu, okay? So that's a real powerful feature where you could reserve a space in a document for an image or whatever, a graphic, import some text or type text, and the text will automatically flow around the image or the box. Okay, I'm going to put this away for now. Okay, somebody wants to see something, or unless somebody wants to. Okay, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of EPICchart. Hopefully. Okay. Okay, what happens when EPICchart comes up is that you get a default so that you can see what EPICchart does and what it involves just by merely clicking on Draw Chart, and that's what I'll do rather than typing in my own data. Okay, so it just drew a chart based upon. Let me resize this because I think it looks a little better. I'll automatically redraw the chart. Now, what will happen, you might say, well, where did this information come from? What I'll do is I'll bring up the worksheet. I'm going to use the File pull-down menu and click on Worksheet. And that'll be where you get your data to create the chart. Now, you can either enter data directly into the worksheet, or you can import ASCII file. The ASCII file asks that you have delimiters, though, so it knows how to parse it. Okay, and the way this works is that in this particular case here, we have Smith, Jones, Doe, Lee, Davis, Lang. Okay, as you see, it actually charted those salesmen, if you want to call it that. Now, what will happen, in order to redraw the chart, say with just these 3 people in it, is that you do a drag, a click and drag operation. Okay, you select just this portion of the worksheet that you want charted. You go into the edit and just say Draw Chart. And it instantly redrew the chart. So you've got these 2 windows working together. So it shows some of the hot link functionality that you saw in the movie. And this will get much better and it'll be expanded to other products beside EPICchart. Now, if I wanted to redraw that again, okay, I select everything and again just say Draw Chart, and I'll get everything again. I can also do things like click in that box and add a new person, like me. Okay, Barnes, and I'll put some other numbers in. Okay, now we'll put a real big number in. You actually see the chart resize itself to accommodate the expanded the number range. Okay, Draw Chart. So you're going to say, well, what does this box mean? This box means C. What does C mean? I don't know. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go over here. If you click on a box, it puts the value right here in this area. So this is the letter A, as everybody can see. So what I'll do is I'll put income there. Okay, I'll go down and I'll put debt. Whoops. Delete the B. Debt. Okay, and I'll call this beer money. That's what's left over, okay? Now what I'll do is I'll select that area, again, the whole thing, all the data of the worksheet, say Draw Chart. Instantly redrew it, and you got a new legend here. Okay, this drew it based upon, is it row or column? I get these, it charted it by row. Now I can change this to chart by column, and I'll do that. Chart by column, and I'll say Draw Chart. And as you can see where the money of the nation's going. Income's good, debt's low, but a lot of money's being spent on beer. So, and you can, I'll quickly go into the chart book. This takes a while because there are over 50 charts available. These are all the different options you have. Now there are other options in addition to what you see here. Let me go into a pie chart. Now I selected a pie chart. It'll bring up all the different kinds of pie charts that you can have. You can, just by clicking on them, you can select the one that you want. I'll select this one, and I can say Apply, and it'll redraw the chart using that particular style. As you see, it takes those new attributes in. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll come down here and customize, say Chart by Row. I still have everything selected, so I should be able to say Redraw the chart. Okay, and it redrew it with these salesmen or people's names in it. You can save it and then incorporate it into an actual EPICwriter session. That works. It works real well, actually. You just do a file, you do a save as, you do a save as all. You get a dialog box that says you should name it DDIF because that's the file filter. I'm going to come down here and call it chart.ddif. Hit carriage return. It will create this file in DDIF format, which will allow me to pull it into an EPICwriter session. That live link does not work today. I have to implicitly go into EPICwriter and pull that in through a separate window. Okay, what I do is, okay, EPICwriter. Okay, while that's writing out to a DDIF file, what I'll do is I'll open a new file. Name a file to open. That'll be chart.ddif. Okay, what it's doing is it's going to open up another document, another window. Okay, it overlays the first one. And as you can see, it works pretty well. Doesn't work exactly well. In fact, this blew yesterday when I was trying it. But anyway, it just shows you some of the functionality that's coming up in the near future. And we're back to the first document. So that pretty much ends my demonstration of EPICchart and EPICwriter. And I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any. Well, it's in PostScript format, and it can be mailed around the network for demand printing, or for whatever purpose you want to use. You can use the PostScript previewer, display PostScript to see it on your screen.
Well, I didn't notice, can you do charts in color and then put it in pixel and do it on an LCD?
You will. You will. That doesn't exist today. Color won't be supported in V1 of DECwindows, from what I understand. It will be in version 2. There also will be a 6L converter for DDIF files, so you can print it on an LN03. Again, I don't know what the time frame is for that, but that's in the queue, if you will. Yeah, sure.
In EPICwriter, when you were copying that mouse,
Yes.
could you copy it onto a block of text?
It'll overlay it anywhere that you want. In other words, it'll do tiling, if you want to call it that. But you can essentially paste the object anywhere you want. Text is a little more limited. Like, you couldn't overlay text onto an object unless you created a text block. And text blocks can be overlaid on top of objects. And it has a transparency mode, too. So if you put one object in front of another, you can say, let me see through that first object. Or put the object in front or in back. So it has that capability. Yep.
Are there any plans to integrate team data in with EPIC?
Yes, that was what they were trying to do earlier. You didn't see them here, but they were trying to get EPICinfo working. EPICinfo, they're calling it a database table editor, but it's essentially a team data equivalent, a version 1.3 of team data. That's available on Regal, by the way, Regal : epic_information, if you want to get the kit. But EPICinfo includes the team data or data table editor, EPICchart that you saw, and EPICcalc, which you didn't see today, which is an Excel Lotus equivalent. Okay, and you'll be able to import Excel files and Lotus files right into the spreadsheet. It's being called the Decision Support Package, and it's really 3 products in one, actually 4. Again, team data, calc, and chart. But another 4th product is a product that was called Lego, which is the macro facility. And as the name implies, it was a building block sort of a facility, and it's cross-application capable. So you can record a session, if you will, and play it back later on. But it's a very powerful, they're saying, again, it's going to be Lotus or Excel-like in capability. So, and that's available now in base level 2 version. It's in internal field test. Anybody else? Oh, yes.
Is there any plans in the future to be writing conversion programs for other products to get databases over from, say, like Lotus 123 or other spreadsheet packages or desktop publishing like PageMaker? I know we support the VIP publishing package, and you know, there's a lot of documents circulating that are currently residing on that VIP package.
Okay, you asked a question that's kind of hard to describe, answer in one answer, because you just spanned a lot of different domains. You span spreadsheets and databases and other native file formats. I'll talk about the file format, because I think that's what you're most interested in. They're building a product now that actually is part of the data table editor, which is part of EPICinfo. It's called DAF, which is the Data Access Facility. It's built on top of DSRI and will allow you to get it third-party data, if you will. Oracle, Ingress, syndicated data, data that's called Dow Jones, SAMI data that comes from the scanners and supermarkets. But that will be plugged into or layered on top of DSRI, and will be available through, part of it will be available through EPICinfo, but most of it will be available through a later on product that's a 1.5 years away called Data Vision. And they're calling that a multi-dimensional database query tool built on top of EPICwriter. I'm sorry, EPICinfo. And it also includes a WYSIWYG sort of a report generator, which is really exciting based upon the prototypes that I've seen. Again, generating a report, designing a report on the screen. So, but in terms of the spreadsheets, I can answer that. They are building converters to go from Lotus and Excel into EPICcalc. And I don't know if it's a 2-way converter, but you can at least take the files in. Okay, that's it? Oh, okay.
Can you write ASCII files, like take a block of text and write it out as an ASCII?
You can go through a converter. Through EPICwriter, you can't just say, give me an ASCII file. But you can save the file in DDIF format. And in fact, if you go into mail and try to send someone through DECwindows mail a DDIF file, it automatically converts it to ASCII. In fact, if you send, I don't know if that's implemented today, but if you try to print a DDIF file to a print symbiont that you haven't specified as being a PostScript device, it'll convert it.
What does it do with the graphics in there, Dave?
You don't get them. They've talked about making references to the fact that somebody sent you a DDIF file and it had a graphic in it, but I can't convert graphics, so give him or her a call and get a copy of it, essentially. In fact, we're doing that with the D-Star journal that's coming out. We scanned in a lot of images. In fact, one particular article took 18,000 blocks because it has about 10 pages of text and 12 images. The images are huge, and I don't know if the compression techniques are in place or not today, but we're trying to proliferate the use of on-demand printing and publishing, and we said we're not going to send out this particular article in PostScript format because it's so huge. It's like 18,000. In this case here, it's easier just to send the hard copy, or makes more sense to. So I would just be a little leery of incorporating scanned images into an EPICwriter session. Well, actually, these scanned images came from a VaxMate, an MD300, a Pixie scanner connected to a VaxMate. So it had to go through 2 layers of software to get it into DDIF format. So I don't know if there's some compression was lost there or not.
EPICwriter will not be, obviously, replacing all the text editors for a while.
No, people said that it could be the default text editor, but I don't really see it as that because it does so much more. I mean, it's almost easier if you're just going to create a simple EDT ASCII file to go into EDT, if you will.
I was thinking, because you might not even need it with DECwindows, but it might be, if you had something you could click on and get a little window like your Notepad and write a paragraph. Sort of thing.
In EPICwriter?
Yeah.
You can do what with it?
Just include it in that file and then send it by itself. That sort of flexibility, making the editor work with EPICwriter.
Oh, I don't know of any such thing. I mean, connection to the Notepad is what you're saying?
Yeah.
That might be there. One of the options was linking to all else. That might be there. I don't have that answer. Good. Oh, one more question there.
Is the Emacs style keypad going to be implemented for version 1?
It'll ship with version 1 of EPICwriter. By the way, that's scheduled to FRS around April, May. But it's on it's base level 3 now, and it holds together really, really well. We've put together 120-page documents, and they worked really well. So it's going to SDC, I believe, in January. It won't ship with DECwindows. I think Dave Price said that. It will be a layered product. They're talking about a price right now of around $1,500, which is cheap. It has to compete with the other electronic publishing packages, namely Interleaf. Okay. Yeah, yep.
Can you compare the graphics capability built into EPICwriter with Cite? Is it about the same or considerably less?
I don't know if anybody has done that comparison. I have a comparison that compares EPICwriter with Interleaf, PageMaker, and one other, and it wins just from the standpoint of the fact that it's integrated with the compound document architecture. So I don't know of anybody who's asked for that or who's done that. I mean, from what I can see, it's better, but maybe I'm partial. I only used Vax Cite for probably 2 months before I went to DECwindows. But there is a UIS Vax Cite to DDIF converter being built today. So anybody who has VWS using Cite can feel comfortable that they can port them over to DECwindows later on. Yes?
Is there going to be an interface through Vax Forms?
Through Vax Forms. Through EPICwriter?
Yeah. What I was thinking is the scanning capabilities. You could read inside, for example, an internal order form, and then port it to Vax Forms. Or
I don't know. Kevin, do you have that answer? No.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't know of any such thing either.
I heard talk of it.
Yeah, probably.
That brought up another question.
Yeah,
Is there any way to cut stuff off of your screen and plop it into EPICwriter to make it a DDIF file?
Oh, I mean, text-based?
Anything on your screen, like just draw a box on your screen and write it to a file.
Yes, you can write it to a file, yes. And one of the options is that when you, part of the session manager was to print, if you will, and what you get there is print entire screen or print part of the screen. And what you can specify there is, if you want it, you can specify go to DDIF, Sixel, and one other, Regis maybe, meaning that anytime you capture a portion of your screen, it'll write it to that file, and then you can incorporate it in, for example, if it's DDIF, not for example, if it's DDIF file, into your EPICwriter session. That works. Yeah, that.
Catch a form off the screen then.
Yeah. Actually, I've tried that once, and I got a null file. So, but this is a new version. They're putting out literally a new version of EPICwriter almost weekly, or changes to it weekly. So it's a real volatile product, and putting a lot of effort into it. So, okay, good. I'd like to thank you all for coming today, and stay tuned for some more seminars on DECwindows.